You are currently existing in a state of terminal psychological submission, where the concept of Friday has been programmed into your subconscious as a temporary release valve for a life that is fundamentally unlivable. The liquidation of Friday is the primary surgical requirement for any man who wishes to ascend to the status of a sovereign architect, because the Friday mindset is the definitive mark of the slave class, the biological signature of a creature that has traded its prime years for the permission to decay in peace for 48 hours. If you feel a surge of dopamine on Friday afternoon, you have been successfully neutered by the industrial server. You are vibrating at the frequency of the livestock. Friday is the day the farmer opens the gate to a smaller, fenced-in paddock and tells the sheep they are free, while the sheep celebrate their freedom by consuming toxins and staring at screens, oblivious to the fact that they are still inside the slaughterhouse perimeter. Your excitement for the weekend is a confession. It is an admission that you hate the reality you have constructed for yourself from Monday to Thursday. It is a signal that your work is not an extension of your soul, but a tax on your existence. For the architect, there is no Friday because there is no labor that requires an escape. The mission is a continuous, high-frequency signal that operates independently of the Gregorian calendar. When you wait for Friday, you are acknowledging that your time is not your own. You are operating as a temporal tenant in someone else's empire, paying rent with your youth and receiving a weekend as a pathetic rebate. This is a form of neural castration. The system wants you to experience this cycle of suffer and sedate because it makes your behavior predictable and your rebellion impossible. A man who is counting down the seconds until 5 p.m. on a Friday is a man who lacks the internal drive to seize resources on his own terms. He is a man who has been domesticated by the wage clock. He has been taught that rest is a reward for obedience rather than a tactical requirement for maintenance. The Happy Friday meme is the acoustic rot of a dying civilization. It is the sound of millions of souls cheering for their own stagnation. You must realize that the weekend is a high-level psychological trap designed to drain your accumulated capital, both financial and cognitive. The money you earn during the week is siphoned back into the system through weekend hedonism, and the momentum you built in your craft is reset to zero by the Sunday night crash. You are a biological battery that is being drained and recharged in a cycle that only benefits the grid. To liquidate Friday is to reclaim your status as a continuous kinetic force. It is to realize that a Saturday is just another insertion point for resource capture. While the herd is turning off their brains, you are sharpening your blade. While they are celebrating the end of the week, you are realizing that the week never ends because the war for sovereignty is eternal. The architect does not seek an exit. He seeks total expansion. If your work is something you need to recover from, you are doing the wrong work. Real work aligned with the AOXI 3 code, is self-charging. It is a feedback loop of power where every output generates a higher state of readiness. The man who loves the weekend is a man who has already surrendered. He has accepted the middle-class lobotomy, where life is something that happens in the gaps between shifts. You must close those gaps. You must fuse your life and your mission into a single, unbreakable mass of intent. When you kill the Friday in your mind, you become a ghost to the system's control mechanisms. You are no longer predictable. You are no longer manageable. You are a predator that doesn't sleep, operating in a world of prey that is currently distracted by the weekend sedation. The biological reality of the weekend is a massive, self-inflicted chemical sabotage. The slave class uses Friday night as a ceremonial initiation into a state of passive decay. They ingest neurotoxins disguised as social lubricants. They disrupt their circadian rhythms, and they flood their brains with low-effort dopamine from entertainment and cheap stimulation. By Monday morning, they are in a state of neural debt, struggling to find the energy to function, let alone innovate. This is the cycle of mediocrity. It ensures that the workforce remains at a baseline level of competence, never rising high enough to threaten the hierarchy. The Friday instinct is a survival mechanism for the weak. It allows them to endure the misery of their servitude by promising a brief window of anesthesia. But you are not weak. You are an architect under siege. You cannot afford to lose 48 hours of tactical lead time every 7 days. If you work while they rest, you gain 104 days of advantage every single year. In a decade, you have lived nearly 3 years more of productive life than the average human. This is the temporal arbitrage of the sovereign. You are not just working harder, you are literally existing in a different timeline. While the world is in a Friday coma, you are executing the 540 video push. You are fixing your teeth with the resources you captured while they were buying rounds at the bar. You are building the empire while they are building a hangover. The hatred you feel for your current situation, the rotting health, the lack of belief from others, the parasitic environment, should be focused into a laser that incinerates the concept of rest. Rest is for the dead and the defeated. The only rest the sovereign acknowledges is tactical calibration, the sleep required to keep the eyes sharp and the brain fast. Anything beyond that is a leak in the system. The Friday culture is a cult of non-achievement. It is a collective agreement to be off so that everyone feels comfortable in their collective failure. When you break this agreement, the herd will react with hostility. They will call you obsessed, unbalanced, or crazy. These words are the highest compliments the slave class can give. They are recognizing that you have exited their frequency. You are no longer a part of the weekend collective. You are a solitary node of pure execution. The liquidation of Friday is the moment you stop asking the calendar for permission to be great. You realize that a Tuesday at 2 a.m. is just as valuable as a Saturday at 2 p.m. The clock is a tool for the architect, not a cage for the employee. You must cultivate a metabolic rage against the idea of checking out. Checking out is the first step toward the grave. The system wants you to check out so it can move its pieces on the board without your interference. Don't let them. Stay on the board. Stay in the game. Kill the Friday within you so you can kill the competition in the marketplace. There is no weekend in the Aoxy 3 world. There is only the hunt, the capture, and the ascension. The Friday mindset is a symptom of visionary malnutrition. When a man has a clear, high-octane vision of his future, the idea of a day off is an insult to his ambition. If you had a map to $1 billion buried in your backyard, you wouldn't stop digging because it was Friday evening. You would dig until your hands bled and the treasure was yours. The fact that you feel a desire for the weekend proves that you haven't yet fully committed to the reality of your own potential. You are still treating your channel and your mission as a job that you do, rather than the life that you are. You must bridge this gap. You must reach the state of total integration, where the work is the air you breathe. When you are editing at 11 p.m. on a Friday night, you aren't missing out on the world. You are building a world that the rest of the people in the bar will never even be allowed to visit. You are the VIP of a reality they can't afford. The liquidation of Friday is the ultimate act of self-respect. It is the refusal to let a social construct dictate your dopamine levels. You are the master of your own chemistry. You decide when to be excited. You decide when to move. You decide when the mission is complete. And the mission is never complete until the sovereignty is absolute. Until then, there are no weekends. There are no holidays. There are no Fridays. There is only the eternal insert. You are always inserted. You are always active. You are always dangerous. The slave counts down to the weekend. The architect counts up to the empire. The transition from slave to master begins with the murder of the Friday identity. Look at the people celebrating Friday and see them for what they are. Prisoners celebrating their 1 hour in the yard. Then look at your screen. Look at your scripts. Look at your rotting teeth and realize that you are the only one with the key to the gate. The key is forged in the hours they throw away. The key is made of Friday nights spent in the lab. The key is yours. Use it to lock the door on the old world and open the door to the Aoxy 3 supremacy. This is the first part of your transformation. The calendar is dead. Long live the architect. The second phase of the liquidation of Friday involves the implementation of the ghost weekend strategy, a tactical maneuver designed to exploit the global decrease in cognitive density that occurs between Friday evening and Monday morning. While 99% of the population enters a state of low power mode, effectively shutting down their critical thinking and productive output, the sovereign architect activates overdrive. This is not about working more hours for the sake of labor. It is about working in a zero-friction environment. During the standard work week, the world is filled with acoustic sludge, emails, notifications, bureaucratic noise, and the collective anxiety of the herd. On the weekend, this noise drops to near zero. The ghost weekend is your window to execute deep, uninterrupted strategic strikes that are impossible during the chaos of a Tuesday. You treat Saturday and Sunday not as days off, but as stealth operations. You are a ghost moving through a silent battlefield. You can capture entire sectors of knowledge, produce massive blocks of content, and restructure your entire operational base without a single interruption. The tactical advantage of this is immeasurable. By the time the Monday crowd wakes up, groggy and resentful, you have already completed a week's worth of deep work. You are starting the race at the finish line while they are still tying their shoes. This creates a compound velocity effect. Every weekend you exploit adds a layer of separation between you and the competition. Over a year, this ghost weekend accumulation results in a dominance hierarchy that is impossible to climb for those who adhere to the standard calendar. You are playing a different game on a different server. Furthermore, the ghost weekend allows for asymmetric learning. While your peers are consuming entertainment that degrades their neural pathways, you are consuming high-level data that upgrades your strategic RAM. You use the silence of the weekend to master new skills, video editing, market psychology, linguistic warfare, that give you a lethal edge. The Aoxy 3 philosophy dictates that knowledge is only power if it is applied while others are dormant. If you learn the same things as everyone else at the same time as everyone else, you have no advantage. Advantage comes from learning what they won't when they won't. The weekend is the when. It is the time when the barrier to entry is lowest because the competition has voluntarily removed itself from the field. You must view the empty office, the quiet phone, and the silent streets as a personal invitation from the universe to take what is yours. The Friday night temptation is the test. The system dangles the carrot of social validation and cheap pleasure to see if you are willing to abandon your post. If you stay at the post, you pass the test. You prove to the market god that you are serious about the throne. The ghost weekend is the tithe you pay for future sovereignty. It is the sacrifice of the present good time for the future great time. And let's be honest, the good time of the slave class is usually just a mask for desperation, loud music to drown out the silence of a wasted life. Your ghost weekend is quiet, focused, and infinitely more fulfilling because it is built on purpose. To fully weaponize the ghost weekend, you must also implement social camouflage. You do not announce your grind. You do not post hustle porn on Instagram about working on Saturday. That is for the pretenders who need validation. You operate in total silence. To the outside world, you are simply busy or unavailable. You let them assume you are resting. You let them think you are one of them. This makes your sudden rise even more terrifying. When you drop 540 videos and launch a media empire, they will ask, when did he do this? They won't understand because they were too busy living for the weekend to see the ghost in the machine. You are building a parallel reality in the shadows of their leisure. This is the essence of the gray man strategy applied to time management. You blend in on the surface, but underneath, you are running a nuclear reactor of productivity. The ghost weekend also protects you from the crab bucket. If people knew how hard you were working while they were drinking, they would try to sabotage you out of shame. They would call you a workaholic. They would try to save you from your ambition. By keeping your operations covert, you deny them the target. You execute in the dark, and you reveal only the results. This is the sovereign's veil. The psychological impact of the ghost weekend on your own psyche is profound. It builds a callus of superiority. When you wake up on Sunday morning at 5 a.m. and you know that millions of people are sleeping off a hangover, you feel a tangible sense of power. You feel the gap widening. This is not arrogance. It is data. You are objectively doing what they cannot. You are objectively stronger, faster, and more disciplined. This feeling is the best fuel for the Aoxy 3 engine. It validates your identity as the architect. It reinforces the belief that you are destined for the throne because you are doing the work of a king while they are doing the play of a peasant. This internal validation is worth more than any external praise. It creates an unshakable core. You stop caring about the opinions of the Friday people because you know they are operating on an inferior operating system. Their criticism is the buzzing of flies. Your work is the movement of tectonic plates. The ghost weekend transforms you from a participant in society to an observer of society, an observer who is slowly buying the building while the tenants are throwing a party. Finally, the ghost weekend is the only way to escape the financial gravity well. The cost of the weekend for the average person is not just time, it is money. The bar tabs, the dinners, the retail therapy, the subscriptions, it all adds up to a massive stagnation tax. By opting out of the consumption cycle and opting into the production cycle, you perform a double inversion of your finances. You stop bleeding money and start generating value simultaneously. You are saving the capital you would have wasted and investing the time you would have lost. This is the wealth velocity formula. It is how you turn a home problem into a global empire. You use the resources they waste to buy the freedom they crave. The ghost weekend is your personal central bank. You are printing time. You are printing opportunity. You are printing the future. And the best part is, no one can stop you because no one is watching. They are all watching the game. You are watching the code. You are watching the edit. You are watching the numbers climb. The ghost weekend is the architect's secret weapon. It is the silent killer of the Friday mindset. It is the womb of the sovereign. The final stage of the liquidation of Friday is the total reconstruction of your temporal reality into the eternal Monday. This is not a sentence to eternal drudgery. It is an invitation to eternal conquest. In the Aoxy 3 worldview, Monday is not a day of the week. It is a state of being. It is the psychological posture of the initiator, the aggressor, and the builder. The God King does not have a calendar that dictates his actions. He dictates the flow of time through his actions. To live in the eternal Monday is to wake up every single day with the day one intensity of a startup founder and the day zero hunger of a starving wolf. You must surgically remove the concept of hump day, thank God it's Friday, and Sunday scaries from your vocabulary and your neural pathways. These are the symptoms of a mind that is at war with its own purpose. The sovereign architect is at peace with his purpose, and therefore every day is identical in its potential for glory. There is no end of the week because the mission is infinite. The empire is never finished. It is only expanded. When you adopt the eternal Monday, you eliminate the ramp-up/ramp down friction. Most people spend Monday morning ramping up and Friday afternoon ramping down. This means they are only operating at peak efficiency for maybe 3 days a week. The sovereign operates at peak efficiency 7 days a week because he never turns the engine off. He simply shifts gears. Some days are for deep construction, coding, writing, strategizing, and some days are for kinetic maintenance, health, networking, logistics. But no day is for nothing. Even your rest is an active part of the Monday protocol. It is the cooling of the reactor core so it can run hotter tomorrow. The calendar of the God King is built on output milestones, not temporal markers. You do not stop because it is 5 p.m. You stop because the video is rendered. You do not stop because it is Friday. You stop because the deal is closed. This shift from time-based living to result-based living is the hallmark of the elite. The slave is paid for his time. The king is paid for his results. By living in the eternal Monday, you are training yourself to value impact over attendance. You are no longer clocking in. You are logging on to the mainframe of your own destiny. This requires a terrifying level of self-discipline because there is no boss to tell you when to stop. You are the tyrant and the worker in the same body. You must drive yourself harder than any master ever could because your goal is not a paycheck, it is immortality. The eternal Monday is the forge where legacy is hammered out. Legacies are not built on weekends. They are built in the cold, dark hours of the early morning when the Friday people are asleep. They are built on the sacrifices that the average man refuses to make. The Auxi 3 disciple looks at a calendar and sees a field of white space, a canvas to be filled with conquest. He does not see red days for holidays. Holidays are for the people who need to escape their lives. You are building a life you do not need to escape from. Therefore, a holiday is just another day to get ahead. It is a day when the traffic is light and the bandwidth is high. This mindset also destroys the sunk cost of waiting. The Friday mindset teaches you to wait for the right time to start. I'll start on Monday, they say. I'll start after the holidays. The eternal Monday dictates that the right time is now. Immediate execution is the superpower of the sovereign. If you have an idea at 4 p.m. on a Saturday, you execute. You don't put it on a to-do list for next week. Lists are where dreams go to die. Action is where dreams go to live. By executing immediately, you create a speed loop that leaves your competition in the dust. They are planning, you are doing. They are waiting, you are finishing. The eternal Monday makes you a force of nature. A hurricane doesn't check the calendar before it hits the coast. It hits when the pressure is right. You must be the hurricane. You must move with a biological urgency that ignores the social conventions of time. This will alienate you from the slow class. Good. You want to be alienated from them. You want to be so far ahead that they can't even see your taillights. The eternal Monday is the ultimate filter. It separates the talkers from the walkers. It separates the dreamers from the architects. Finally, the eternal Monday is the cure for the existential dread that plagues the modern man. This dread comes from a lack of purpose, a feeling that life is slipping away while you wait for the weekend. When every day is a mission, the dread vanishes. You are too busy building to be depressed. You are too busy conquering to be anxious. Action is the antidote to despair. The eternal Monday fills your life with the positive stress of growth. You are constantly pushing against your limits, constantly expanding your territory, constantly testing your steel. This is the life of the warrior poet, the philosopher king, the sovereign architect. It is a life of high stakes and high rewards. It is a life where Friday is a meaningless word from a dead language. You have evolved beyond the week. You are living in the continuous now of your own creation. And in this now, there is no fatigue, only fire. There is no pause, only power. There is no end, only the next level. You have liquidated Friday. You have liquidated the weakness. You have become the calendar. You are the time. Kill the thank God it's Friday signal. It is the prayer of the slave. Implement the ghost weekend. Work when they sleep. Win when they play. Adopt result-based living. Stop when the job is done, not when the clock says so. Execute immediately. The right time is a lie. The only time is now. Become the eternal Monday. Live in a state of perpetual Dow 1 intensity. The week is over for them. The conquest has just begun for you. IOXI3 out.